Call to order the meeting of the Board of Managers of the Minnehaha Creek Watershed District. It is February 25th, 2016. There are two, well, first of all managers are present. I want to note before we go any farther that we'll begin with the swearing in of Manager Bill Olson, who was recently reappointed by his Carver County Board.
What if we don't swear him in?
Well, we don't have to. Mr. Smith has to.
Do you still serve?
Manager Olson, if you would stand, raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, William Olson.
I, William Olson.
Do solemnly swear.
Do solemnly swear.
That I will faithfully support.
That I will faithfully support.
The constitutions of the United States.
The constitutions of the United States.
And of the state of Minnesota.
And of the state of Minnesota.
And will faithfully discharge the duties.
And will faithfully discharge the duties.
Of the office of manager.
Of the office of manager.
Of the Minnehaha Creek Watershed District.
Of the Minnehaha Creek Watershed District.
To the best of my judgment and ability.
To the best of my judgment and ability.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Welcome back.
All right.
Boy, that was enthusiastic.
Is there any member of the public who wishes to address the board on a matter that is not on the agenda or that is on the consent agenda? See no hands. Move on to approval of the agenda. I will note one additional change, which is to add an action item. Mr. Smith, would you give us a title for that?
Yes, Madam President, we'd request that you add at 11.5 approval of the settlement agreement with Eric Evenson Martin.
Thank you. Are there other changes anyone wants to the agenda? Is there a motion to approve?
Move approval.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Under information items and correspondence, we have the 2015 year in review, which was included in our packets. And would any manager like to comment on that? I know it's on this information item, but it certainly is a very impressive report.
It looks beautiful. Does a really good job of summarizing.
Thank you.
Very
And
well done.
Thank you to staff, everyone. On our consent agenda today, we have approval of the February 11, 2016 board minutes, approval of the check registers, the general checking account, the surety account, and the 325 Blake Road checking account. And additional consent items are Resolution 1610, authorization to enter a contract with KC Consulting for the creek cleanup. Resolution 16-11, authorization to enter into a contract with Henry Rapp for activities analysis and 50th anniversary outreach strategy. Resolution 16-12, authorization to purchase a 2016 Jeep Cherokee from the State Cooperative Purchasing Venture. And Resolution 16-13, accepting Hennepin County Natural Resources Opportunity Grant for the Meadowbrook Golf Course Ecological Restoration Project. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Move approval. Second.
Motion and second. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Under item 8, board updates, for my president's report, let me mention that there are a couple of events at the bottom of the agenda, upcoming April 23rd and May 27th. I would hope that a manager or two would want to attend those events. I have attended a couple of meetings I'll report on. The Comp Plan Policy Advisory Committee met earlier this week, and gave good comments and suggestions and approval for the items under discussion. We talked about the mission, vision, and guiding principles and goals recently adopted by this board. There was a discussion of the focal geography planning and especially the draft process for the 6 Mile Creek sub-watershed, and a discussion of the responsive tract as well to spell out the difference between focal and responsive. They also reviewed the idea that the brochure is being developed as an update to all the stakeholders on the comp plan process. So that was a good meeting and well attended. I also attended earlier this week the Wayzata Steering Committee for the Lake Effect. That was the last of that series of meetings involving technical and steering committee. The final schematic design work had been completed. The final product, the complete product, will be delivered April 1st. All of the plans and boards that they'll be delivering to the city. And then during April, the city will be deciding, city council will be acting on that, presumably to decide how to phase that and where to begin and how to fund it. Between now and then, they'll have some public presentations, and they will be working with their conservancy, the Lake Effect Conservancy, to look at how they're going to plan on not only funding the construction, but also the maintenance, ongoing operation and maintenance cost of the project. Of course, this is part of a larger project, and so our staff have been working on, as part of that TAC, on thinking about the larger project and what might be accomplished overall, and also what might be accomplished in this smaller lake rim region of the city. So I anticipate there'll be more information coming forth about that going forward. April 1st delivery on their deliverables. So that is what I have. And then Manager Calkins, Planning and Policy Committee report.
The Planning and Policy Committee met on February 18th and discussed a number of items, including several issues related to the comprehensive plan update, the updated schedule, and the process for completing the plan. Staff is working on a brochure that will explain the partnership model and the two-track approach, and also will present the new vision, mission, goals, and guiding principles. We also had some discussion about the 6-mile planning, the 6-mile project planning on outreach and scoping. We had a presentation on the Carver County WMO MCWD boundary change, and then we had a number of briefings, one on the Grandview District stormwater planning, Park Nicollet Hospital, the Mound Senior Living Facility, and the Knollwood Mall project. And the minutes are in the packet this evening.
Thank you. In those minutes the records that Manager Miller had said that he was going to ask to have a task force appointed to work on developing that brochure and the other graphics and presentation materials that we use for the comp plan. And I would be very glad to do that, to appoint Managers Miller and Rognus, if they're willing to be the board's, essentially the liaison or task force to work on that project, if the board approves. I would make an motion. Thank you, Manager Shackleton. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. And then just as a note, to close the loop, the task force that had been appointed to work on the mission, vision, guiding principles, and goals, which was Managers Olson and Miller, I don't have to dissolve that formally, but just recognize that that task is over, and so that liaison relationship and task force are over as well, just to make it formal. Anything else on planning and policy? Thank you. Upcoming meetings are noticed here in the agenda. Manager Olson.
It looks like we will probably cancel the March 3rd Operations and Programs Committee because the subject matter was the AIS program, and they're not going to be ready.
Okay.
Eric and Craig both said they would not be ready for that, and so they'll either bring it up at the following workshop as an agenda item for all of us to discuss, or next month's meeting.
Okay, thank you. We'll move down to item 11.2, Ms. Damjancic.
Madam President, managers, tonight staff is requesting authorization to enter into 4 contracts for vegetation management at 17 sites throughout the district. 10 of these sites had been held under the 10-site vegetation management contract by MNL, Minnesota Native Landscapes, and also Wetland Habitat Restorations over the past 7 years. That contract was completed in 2015, and so we're bringing those sites onto this contract, or this group of contracts, as well as 7 additional sites. These sites, the 7 additional sites, have either come off of their installation period warranty, contract maintenance, or they were held as district lands and formerly managed under the Land Conservation Program. So when the project maintenance and land management program assumed those land management responsibilities from the Land Conservation Program, we were managing these sites for vegetation purposes in kind of an ad hoc way. We didn't have a lot of targeted vegetation work, and so this set of contracts will kind of bring all this work together more cohesively, and we'll have kind of some specific management of each of these sites. We're also looking to create some cost savings managing this work in this way. We're grouping the sites geographically. They're quite spread out throughout the district, as you can tell. So we're working to manage these sites geographically linked, and then also aligning similar management techniques so that the contractor can utilize equipment effectively at these various sites because they have similar scopes of work. The contract period will be 3 years at 15 of the sites, and then 2 of the sites are a little different. They'll be under the contract for 1 year each. The 6 Mile Marsh Prairie Restoration, we're currently working with Great River Greening on receiving Outdoor Heritage Fund grant money to manage vegetation at that site. And we're hoping that that will be approved, and then that management will begin in July of 2017. So the contract will just be for 1 year at that site. And a similar situation at the County Road 26 site. We're also receiving Outdoor Heritage Funds for vegetation management at that site. So the contract just covers 1 year at that site as well.
Excuse me, on County Road 26,
Yes.
it says Johnson property, and I didn't hear, does it include all the property?
Just the County Road 26 site, Manager Miller. It's
Both sides?
Just within the remeander. The Johnson Rolling Hills site will be managed for 3 years.
Okay.
The work that we're undertaking with Great River Greening is primarily in the woodland area where there is a pretty significant buckthorn infestation. So we're working with Great River Greening to manage the woodland area. The more upland and wetland areas of the site are separate from that. Staff requested quotes for these contracts. There's 4 separate contracts, and we're recommending accepting the low quotes for each of the 4 contracts. And those came, the 3 low quotes for the pond buffers, the large site restorations, and the 6 Mile Marsh Prairie came from Prairie Restorations, and then Wetland Habitat Restorations came in with a low quote for the small site buffers and shoreline. And we are requesting final action at tonight's meeting. I can answer any questions you might have.
Thank you. Manager Calkins.
When we were first discussing the 6 Mile Marsh Prairie restoration, I believe the intent was to establish the prairie first and then to move on and begin planting oak trees for Oak Savannah. Is that still the plan? What is that schedule?
Manager Calkins, managers, that is part of this first year of the contract, or 1 year contract. The Oak Savannah that is currently in place within the 6 Mile Marsh Prairie Restoration will be expanded. The contractor will be collecting acorns on site, testing those for viability, and then planting acorns within about a 2-acre area of expansion of that Oak Savannah.
So the intent is to establish them from acorns?
From acorns, correct.
And is there a plan to keep them from being eaten by deer?
It will be fenced off. The area will be fenced off. That's part of the contract, as well as the contractors bid on fencing that area.
Okay, great. I would move approval.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further questions or discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Item 11.3, Mr. Heyman and Ms. Kreitz. Kreitz. Kretz.
Good evening, Chair White, managers. We're before you this evening requesting authorization to purchase stormwater sampling equipment from Tech Sales Company and authorization to contract with Wank Associates for equipment installation of the equipment at these sites. I'll sort of orient the board briefly, but as you know, the 325 Blake Road project, so in the heart of the urban corridor, it would be the yellow, pink, and orange areas, is a 3-phase project. So the Blake Road 325 Blake Road site or cold storage is where the stormwater facility will occur. Presently, we've either been in design or construction phase for the 2 diversion projects. So the Powell Road diversion is in place and the Lake Street is in design. As we've been working on that, planning of projects has been coordinating with the Research and Monitoring Department to further investigate stormwater monitoring in the area and help to facilitate some of the design considerations that will be necessary to make sure the facility we construct on the 325 Blake Road site is sufficient for the stormwater and the loads that are entering. So a couple of images just to refresh your memory. We have about 329.8 acres in these subwatersheds on the left screen. What we can capture and actually divert through the 2 stormwater diversions is about 268 acres. That includes the 20 or so acres that the 325 Blake Road site and the right-of-way of the rail line are in. So we're looking at about 216 acres down Powell, which is the large green drainage area, and I'll show you that, and about 31 acres on Lake. So the present drainage areas, we have a large stormwater pipe that runs down or runs north towards Lake Street on the left of the screen. The other is the Powell pipe. That diversion project is in and moves through the properties through an easement and was bored through the rail line to our site. The Lake Street project, which would be the one on the left, has been designed. Met Council is about, so we were designing that one in coordination with Met Council as they plan their force main project down Lake Street. So they're actually going out for bid soon to begin construction of their lift station and then force main. So we're probably looking at a 2017 construction of the actual storm sewer. They'll be working on the lift station and other elements in advance of that. But to give you a little bit more background or information related to the stormwater monitoring equipment, I'll turn it over to Ms. Kretz, and she can sort of fill you in on what it is we're doing out here.
President White, Board of Managers.
Can you go back to the, excuse me, can you go back to
Sure.
that? The Powell Road diversion pipe is already in it, but not used.
Correct. So it's bulkheaded. The structure in Powell Road itself, so where the blue and red lines intersect or where they meet, there is a large structure at that location that essentially you have a bulkhead or a blockage there. So present day, all stormwater still runs through the red pipe, essentially, or the red line. So it's still direct discharges to Minnehaha Creek.
And that's our pipe that we turned over to St. Louis Park or Hopkins?
Yes, so we have an agreement with St. Louis Park and I believe Hopkins for when it enters onto our actual property. So they own the infrastructure that we've constructed.
Okay, and who's going to put in the Lake Street pipe? And
so Met Council will manage the project as part of their force main project.
So they'll put the storm sewer in along with the sanitary sewer?
Correct.
Okay.
And we have an agreement. It's nearing completion. That'll likely be before the board in the next month or two. It's drafted. It's actually a 4-way agreement between the district, Hennepin County, because we're taking drainage off of Blake Road and running across Blake Road, the City of Hopkins, and Met Council.
Oh, okay.
Is that going to be bulkheaded as well?
Yes, so that will be bulkheaded directly at the site, and we'll still bypass to the creek until the facility is constructed.
Thank you.
President White, Board of Managers. Both the locations at the Lake Street pipe and the Powell Road will be comprised of the same monitoring equipment. And I just wanted to give you an idea in case you're unfamiliar with what these monitoring stations tend to look like. This picture just shows a typical size of a job box. And these job boxes are what are housing our ISCO automatic storm samplers. And there's typically a conduit running in some fashion into the culvert. So at our stations, we'll be having an area velocity probe placed inside the culvert, and that's giving us our flow readings. And that is communicating with the ISCO sampler. So this is what the inside sampling portion of the sampler looks like. And when this triggers, based on an increase in flow or a certain amount of flow reached, it'll utilize a new communication modem. And this is giving staff for the first time the ability to be alerted via cell phone when the sampler is triggered. So we're excited about this. It's going to be cutting down on false trips to the site. It should increase the amount of samples that we're actually able to collect due to the advanced warning. And this just kind of highlights how important it is to have these monitoring stations set up versus just going out and getting a grab sample in a storm. You can really see the difference between the first flush through a pipe versus, the very end of a storm. So we'll be able to get the entire profile. All the equipment, some of it we were able to take from previous project sites. The ISCO samplers were both reused from past projects. And then the modem and the velocity probe are kind of a technology upgrade, as well as some new equipment that we are required to have in these smaller pipes with such low flows. So this is a picture of the Powell Road. You can actually see the diversion structure being put in place here in that photo. And this is a zoomed in picture of the pipe. We'll be putting in the velocity probe up pipe of that breakage to decrease chances of damage. And the conduit here will be running through a manhole. And this is Lake Street. You can see that pipe here. This one will be just going through the top of the culvert. And both City of Hopkins and City of St. Louis Park are on board with this and know about this. And you can just tell by the size of these two different pipes. If I go back, the equipment is the same, but the pipes are not. So we'll be taking the first few rain events to really tweak and get this program, the programming of the equipment kind of fine-tuned so that we're able to catch the entire storms, because the Powell Road pipe is, taking in 200 more acres of water. So the programming will be slightly different from site to site. And once we get that fine-tuned, we'll be using this data for a few things to help the district. One of those things is to calibrate our model. So currently at these two locations, we're relying on model stats to show us how much nutrients and water will be coming through these two sites. But now with this precipitation bucket also being put in place at Powell Road and these two stations, we'll actually be able to know for sure with a 1-inch rainfall we're seeing pollutant amounts of X, Y, and Z at this location. And that too, as Mike mentioned, will help us design the facility going in at cold storage. For example, if we're seeing 50% more suspended solids coming through these pipes compared to what the model predicted, that very well might change how we put this structure in place and plan for future maintenance costs. And lastly, which I'm really excited about, is just the chance to show the effectiveness of this site and this project. So we're really ahead of this. We are going to have 2 years of pre-project data coming from these two locations. And once the site at cold storage gets put in place and put online, we will have a third monitoring location set up to monitor post-project data and to show whether this has been a great success or not. And so tonight we are asking for authorization to purchase stormwater sampling equipment from Tech Sales Company and authorization to contract with Wank Associates for equipment installation services.
Is there a motion to approve the request? Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. I missed, where's the third location going to be?
At the exit of the stormwater facility.
Okay. Thank you. Manager Olson?
Just a curiosity, as I read through the quote, it talked about Verizon. Do we use Verizon? Is that our service provider?
Yep, Chair, Manager Olson, we do use Verizon for all of our wireless modem to get data transported back to the office.
So this isn't something that's new for us?
No.
Okay, thanks.
Other questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks for a nice and clear presentation. I got a pretty good idea what was going on.
Item 11.4, Ms. Sylvia.
President White, Board of Managers, I'm here before you with Resolution 16016, which is to enter into a memorandum of understanding with the City of St. Louis Park, which essentially delegates erosion control authority to the city. Earlier today, Manager Shackleton brought up some questions regarding whether, first of all, St. Louis Park has the correct ordinance to meet our standards, as well as the timing of this action, and I hope to address those questions as I go through my presentation tonight. Under state statute, the district regulates land development in order to protect water resources, and under that statute, cities also are able to request that permitting authority back from the district if their ordinance is found to be in accordance with our rules. This process was started in 2015, and I believe conversations were initiated earlier than that. And so this year, or in the last year, Wank performed a comparison of the district's rules along with the city's erosion control ordinance to determine if the city meets the same requirements that we hold. And initially, they came up with a series of suggestions for St. Louis Park to adopt in order to bring their ordinance up to standard with ours. What I left out of the board packet on Monday was the August 18th response from the City of St. Louis Park, in which they amend their ordinance to meet these requirements, which was reviewed by Wank and was in concurrence with our standards. In November, the City of St. Louis Park also provided supplemental information in order to meet the requirements of Section 7.1.2 of the District's Comprehensive Plan, which provides guidance whenever a city requests rural authority, which was also left out of the packet. And so as such...
How's that? That was complete.
And so with support of engineering and legal counsel, staff has found that the City of St. Louis Park has developed an ordinance sufficient in order to obtain the district's erosion control rule. And under obligation of state statute, staff recommends the approval of this resolution. With regard to the topic of timing, which Manager Sheckleton also brought up, St. Louis Park staff requested action on this MOU, which is why I'm here before you tonight, but I do apologize for not bringing it forward to you in workshop a couple weeks ago. If you feel that you do need more time to consider the information presented tonight, and if you would like me to come back with more information in a couple weeks, I'd be more than happy to do that as well.
Well, I would be content to go forward as long as the packet is updated with so that the official meeting record has the additional information that you're discussing. Do other managers also?
Quick question. This might be directed this way. Why would they be so anxious to take this on?
I asked the same question.
I might be able to provide insight.
Okay, good.
So the city, they initiated these conversations in order to kind of streamline their building permit process. And so in order to help them issue more building permits more effectively and just being able to take erosion control under their belt would help that process as well.
Okay, then by them modifying their rules to come in alignment with our requirements, was that a big leap for them or was that a small leap?
It didn't seem to be. Wank's requirements were in the realm of materials requested in order to have a complete application, as well as some inspection requirements, and I believe stabilization requirements as well.
Okay.
But those have been brought into accordance.
Okay.
Manager Miller?
Well, first of all, I'll move the approval of the...
Thank you. Is there a second before you go on?
Second.
Thank you. Go ahead.
What do we do to make sure that, you know, after we delegate, that they are following the letter and spirit?
Well, we have a pretty close working relationship with the City of St. Louis Park. We do a lot of work with them outside of just permitting, and so it's that close staff relationship and in constant coordination with them that ensures that we know that they are upholding the rule, and also we are able to kind of determine if they're having trouble implementing the rule, or if through our inspections we're finding that, you know, as we're traveling around, that we're finding that sites within the city aren't quite meeting our requirements as far as stabilization or other methods of erosion control. So it would be...
There's no organized system to monitor their compliance?
No.
Okay, because the reason I ask is like in Edina, they've got a requirement on impervious surfaces coverage, and that's being violated with driveways all over the place. And we got a good working relationship with Edina, but you know, I think they let some of the things kind of go because they're fighting on saving trees and curb cuts and all those other issues on these teardowns, these massive teardowns.
Sure.
Especially in the older part of Edina, where they get a lot of teardowns, covering the entire lot with I know one lot that's got like 40 square feet of lawn. The rest of it's building or concrete. And I'm just, wondering, in spite of, Edina is easy to work with and they're very pleasant and everything, but I don't think that they're following the rules.
Well, the benefit of the city taking this authority as well is that the city has stop work authority, they have police authority, so at least they're within that rule, they are able to enforce it more than we could.
Okay.
Manager Blixt?
I think it would be helpful for us to just get a sense of how many cities actually we've delegated to, because I know over time it's increased. So certain cities have taken on wetland authorities, and there's quite a variety of cities that have different authorities that we've delegated to them. So I've just kind of lost track of, as it has changed over time, who in our watershed is doing what. Is there a way to just get us that report of, or the list of who's doing what?
Yes.
That would be great.
Manager Shackleton?
My prima facie response to this is that I don't have a problem with this delegation. And one of the reasons I was hoping just to not necessarily act on this tonight, and I haven't expressed that, but it was one of my hopes, is things like in the delegation or the itemization of responsibilities under the watershed district. Item 1 is the watershed district will continue to apply and enforce its rules as they may be amended within the city, except for erosion control, which will not apply within the city. Outlines our role. Item 1.1 for the city is the city may exercise all present and future authority it otherwise may possess to issue permits for and regulate activities affecting water resources within the city, which is very broad. And I mean, this is a question for council. That's very broad. Item 1.2 says it highlights erosion control, solely responsible for permitting for the purposes of erosion control of the city. Is that boilerplate for how we delegate, or?
Madam President, Manager Shackleton, I'm sorry, could you repeat the language?
Sure. I mean, it's.
You're referring to the resolution?
I'm referring to the resolution the City of St. Louis Park passed, and it looks like it is the MOU that has the signature of the mayor and the city manager, would in theory have the signature of our board chair. It's page 5 in our packet.
Madam President,
Yes.
Manager Shackleton, I'm expecting, we do have standard templates for these MOUs, and I'm expecting that this is the language. I haven't compared it. Staff could probably speak to that.
Okay.
So under responsibilities of the city,
Yeah.
then?
Items. I mean, item 2.1 under responsibilities of the watershed says we have authority to do everything except erosion control. Item 1.1 for the city says they exercise authority to issue permits and regulate activities affecting water resources within the city, very broadly. And then item 1.2 identifies erosion control. I mean, are those? Is that incongruous?
Madam
Yes, Mr. Smith.
President, Manager Shackleton, now hearing your question yet again, I feel like I could respond a little better. 1.1 refers to the existing authority that all cities have to have stormwater management ordinances and regulations. And so it's saying that they continue to exercise that authority as they do.
Okay.
And then 1.2 specifies that they're going to have the sole authority. It's not overlapping. They're the only ones that are going to regulate erosion control. But they have to do it pursuant to the terms of the local plan that we have approved and pursuant to the MOU.
Okay.
So what we're recognizing in this is that cities have, by virtue of being cities, authority to require stormwater management in developments, and that is a parallel authority to that of the watershed. This process is a way to integrate those and then recognize that they'll continue with that authority. As to stormwater management, for example, the district will continue to be the one also to exercise its stormwater management authority.
Okay,
And
thank you.
further, it goes on to say that if there's a variance, it comes back to us. They can't grant it without us, and
As to
they'll keep a
erosion
log, which is a way of, I'm sorry?
As to erosion control.
Yes, yeah. So that's some extra reassurance.
It doesn't
And
say for
also-
approval, it says that they'll submit it to us for review. It doesn't say that we're going to wait for our approval or subject it to our approval.
Will not issue a variance until the MCWD has approved the variance and proposed conditions. 1.3.
Let's see. Okay. Thank you.
Anything else? Manager Calkins?
The city, a number of the cities have taken over the handling of a number of the district rules. We used to, I believe, get a report, I think it was annual, from the cities of the permits that they had granted, where they were overseeing the rules. Is that still happening? I'm assuming it is.
Mr. Wesker's indicating it happens.
And so there is a check there to see if the cities are implementing the rules properly. And I think that's important. I think the flip side of that is I think so long as we are confident that that's happening, I think there's a positive there because it shows that the cities have an interest in water resources and they're paying attention to water resources, and I think that's only to the benefit of the district. So I think we know it's being done in partnership with the district. I think it's something that we shouldn't be concerned about.
Manager Miller?
Well, before we get too excited about people carrying on our rules, St. Louis Park is a real competently governed and run city. No dispute about that. But remember, they sold land on the creek that we purchased for them for conservation efforts, and they sold it out for housing development right on the creek, and they built their public works facility right on the creek, and met the bare minimum of the standards that you'd expect for somebody that had great concern about the environment. And I suspect that since those two things have happened in the last 4 or 5 years, they become more sensitive to the issues of water quality and value. But I don't think it gives us any less reason to not follow up and make sure that these rules are in fact carried out the way they agreed to.
Are we ready to vote? Manager Blitz?
I would like to amend the motion to have it include the request for the report of permit in all the cities, as well as the report that Mr. Calkins referred to. I forget from 2015, just if that's available, of what the permit activity has been in the cities.
Vary from process here a little bit before I call for a second. Does 1.4, which says the city will maintain a log of permits and provide the log to us annually and meet annually, does that meet your request?
Well, all I'm asking for is that report.
Okay, so I'm just saying perhaps it does need to be an amendment because it's included in the document?
May I just?
No, she's
may I?
asking somebody.
Okay.
I would offer a second if it was separated from this, because I
Yeah,
think I'd like
Sure,
to
okay.
see that as well.
All right, let's talk about it.
Yeah.
All right, I will withdraw my motion for now.
Fair enough. Anything else?
Madam
Manager, Mr. Smith?
I didn't want to jump ahead of the manager if there were there.
Go ahead.
Just want to double check that there weren't amendments to the resolution that were discussed this afternoon. Are those updated? Mr. Welch sent amendments
Oh,
this afternoon to this resolution. I don't think they were critical. I have them
No.
on my phone, but
No. They were to the language in the RBA, but into the MOU, no. But
they're in,
no, they weren't included.
okay.
Is
Do you
the
want to
attorney
include
comfortable?
What's that?
Do you want to include them?
Yes.
But they were to the RBA only, not the resolution.
I would have to double check that.
We just want to have the correct language that the board adopts.
One comment from Manager Olson. You had your hand up, Bill. No? Okay. Manager Shackleton.
I almost would like to just table this until our next workshop so we can just have complete everything as well as an RBA that reflects what our attorneys think we should do. I don't know what substantively needs to change or where or how, but just given the form of what we've received, it'd be nice to just have a complete document.
What would be the correct form of motion to accomplish that, Mr. Smith?
Table to the workshop.
The motion to table the motion.
Yeah, which is what I thought I'd like to move the table to the next workshop.
Is there a second to that motion? Second. Manager Robbins seconds. Not debatable. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We'll see you back again.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. Are there any other questions that what people want before we allow Ms. Sylvia to return to her seat? All right, then
You're gonna
Manager
make your
Bliss.
Yeah, so my motion, I guess, would be to get, in the past, we've got an annual permit report that detailed all the permits that we've done throughout the year from all the cities throughout. There's like a grid, all the cities, and then all the different types of permits. And then it would be nice to have the indication of which ones were delegated to the cities, as well as where there were violations, and that type of thing. So if we could get that report for 2015, I think that would lead to some discussion of, and
I'll second the
maybe
motion.
everybody'd be fine with it. But it'd be good to see it.
I'd like to exercise a prerogative to have a written form of that motion so we know exactly what it is. I don't quarrel with having good reports, but I want to make sure we know. For example, I'm not sure your motion would accomplish finding out what a city had done under the delegated rule. Was that part of what you were interested in?
I don't know what I was specifically asking for, and perhaps once we see what I'm asking for, it would lead to ask for additional information. But all I'm asking for is the permits done in 2015, which from all the cities in every category of rule, and then an indication of which types of permits have been delegated to the cities. And then also an indication on there of where there were violations. I don't think that we would know what actions that a city may have taken to do their follow through on. I mean, that's not for us. I don't think we'd be able to know. I just want to know the bare facts of just the numbers, and from there, let's talk about it, and maybe we want to know more once we see that. But until we see the full scope, I don't know that we know that we care.
We don't have a budget to do another. We don't have enough budget to do another staff person.
Right.
Hopefully, they got this all assembled.
Yeah. Well, no,
Yeah.
I think it's a pretty straightforward report that's done on a regular.
We've seen permitting reports, certainly.
Yes. They have to do it for their NPDS report.
There's a motion, a second, is there discussion? Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Item 11.5, Mr. Smith.
Madam President, I'm going to pass out document that is the proposed settlement agreement and release. I want to just first acknowledge that we received this signed agreement after the board's agenda was published, but a request that we act on it as soon as available, and so in response to that request, I recommend it be added to the agenda. This document is the same document that the board had previously reviewed in closed session. It provides of payment through the district's insurer, the League of Minnesota Cities Insurance Trust. The League is recommending this settlement on a rationale of avoiding further litigation costs. And the agreement you'll see has been signed by Mr. Evenson Martin. There is one issue that I'd like to call to the board's attention at page 5, which is Exhibit A to the agreement and the letter of employment reference. And it's been brought to my attention that Mr. Evenson Martin served as administrator through April of 2014 and then continued in district service but did not serve as the administrator. And so it would not be accurate as stated here. I think that the paragraph could be reworded factually to read, Eric Evenson Martin worked as administrator for the Minnehaha Creek Watershed District, period. His term of employment was from December 1998 through October 2014 because he was employed with the district through October. So we'll have to bring that back to them, but I think there's a good faith basis to just make sure it's factual on both sides. I would otherwise be pleased to answer any questions you may have, but we, with counsel from the League, again, this does not involve any expenditure of district funds. It is the district's insurer, the League of Minnesota Cities Insurance Trust, that is to pay the settlement and is recommending its approval.
Thank you. Are there questions for Mr. Smith? Is there a motion to approve acceptance of this settlement with the changed terminology in the first paragraph of the letter of reference? I will make that motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion or questions? Mr. Smith?
Could I just note who made the motion, please?
I moved and Manager Robbins seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
I'm not voting.
No vote. Okay. Thank you very much, everyone. Administrator's report, Mr. Erdahl.
Thank you, President White and managers. First thing, I wanted to cover a little bit of you have in your packets the 2015 year in review report, and just kind of as a note from our communications and education staff that it's currently at the printer being printed, so the official copies will be sent out to stakeholders in the coming week or two. The stakeholder list includes cities, counties, state elected officials, key staff, lake and neighborhood groups, and a variety of our partner organizations. And it's already being distributed via our online newsletter, the e-newsletter Splash, and posted on our website and other social media areas. And we'll, of course, have extra copies here in the office as well. There's quite a few, in terms of calendar events listed on our website. There's some upcoming rain garden workshops across the district. The Urban Waters Forum is planned at the Arboretum on the 23rd of April. And like I said, more information on those items is on our website. Leadership team here at the district recently completed all the staff performance reviews for staff and implemented some compensation adjustments that were according to the approved 2016 budget process. So that's been finalized and put into place. We've also been in this, as we start off 2016, started with a focus on developing our staff and their abilities, and we went through a staff development program focused on Strength Finders program that some of you might be familiar with, and that's been extremely well received by staff, and we're looking for ways to continue to kind of use that as a way to increase interdepartmental cooperation and some of the collaboration and teamwork internally and also with our community partners. Then just a couple things that are coming up in the months ahead. One is the 2016 MAUD Legislative Reception and Breakfast, then Day at the Capitol. That is March 30th and 31st. So I wanted to alert you that maybe you've already received the mailer, some of you, or maybe all of you. But that is coming up in about a month. And then also the Governor's Water Summit is in 2 days, this Saturday. And there has been some information sent out about with more details about the agenda. I think 3 managers are participating in that, I believe. So we'll have some good feedback. I will be there as well, and also Peter Ruckelbacher from our Citizens Advisory Committee plans to attend. So there is, for people not going, if you're looking for something to do on Saturday, they are live streaming the event too, so there's some information that I could share with everybody about that. So it's kind of it filled up pretty quickly, I know, and there's actually a pretty long waiting list. So if people are interested in more information, I could forward that along too.
Thank you.
And that's all I have.
Thank you, everyone. We are adjourned.